another episode of the Lumière Learning Monday. My guest today is Divya Tolani, and my co host is Pallavi Gadre. Today, we're going to unpack women, work, and well being. And this is the first of the many series of conversations we intend to have with women professionals who are working but who have had a time when they walked off the ramp to really understand from them what were their enablers to coming back to work, what were some of the difficulties and challenges they experienced along the way, and what is their advice and guidance to those of us who are at the crossroads, who want to make the most of a break time, but are also thinking about pivoting and coming back to the workforce. How do women professionals work, preserve their well being, and how do they inspire us and guide us so that more women can discover what is it that they want to do and learn from the best. So, Divya, tell us a little bit about you and your journey.
Hi, and first, thank you for giving me this privilege and platform to be here and share my story. If just sharing here even helps me change one life today, that would be an achievement by itself. So, appreciate the opportunity for sure. A little about me: I'm a native Mumbaiker. I am at heart very much a Mumbai girl and born and brought up here, studied here, worked here for a while as well. I was with Kotak Mahindra Bank for a year and a half. Got married back in 2007, and then 2008 I moved to United States. Out there, it took me a bit, which is where there was a gap in my career. I went into family planning mode. I had three beautiful boys, and after that, I did make it back to the workforce. I have been with WSFS Bank there in Wilmington since 2015, and it's been wonderful. It's been a wonderful journey. It's been great getting back for me. That's what fills my bucket. So I am much better and much happier at heart right now.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Um, Thanks, Divya. I think that's a lovely journey that you have kind of said in a little nugget. So, just to understand, from you, what is work for you? What does it mean for your well-being, for your, mental and physical, wellness?
So going to work, having something more to do in my day is what offers
Mhm.
me sanity. It at the basic level, it's what keeps me sane. It gets me through my day. Uh, it's individual to individual. So again, I'm not saying what works for me will work for anybody else. It's what makes them feel complete. For
Correct.
me, it was that being able to do both roles, being able to be my mom and wife and daughter and all of those roles, but at the same time have a little facet of myself where I am applying the knowledge that I have gained, all the studies that I have been through, putting it to work, putting it in back in the economy, doing something that helps growth beyond me. That is not just me, and something more tangible. That's what makes me feel better, and I like that. So for me, work is that sanity because if I take that part out of my life, I don't think I'll be a good mom or a good wife or a good daughter or any of my other roles. I would probably be more pathetic at them. So this actually helps me deliver even at the other ends.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, how easy or challenging was it to really make that decision and that point in time when you really had to decide that I have to maybe take a pause now?
So the pause happened by the virtue of me moving. It
Yes.
wasn't a decided pause.
Hmm.
I went there in 2008 and I had my first child in 2009.
Okay.
And as my child was growing up, I was okay. Like, it was a natural life progression, which is why I was like, okay, yeah, I'll take care of my kid for now. I'll understand it. I was in a new country. I was trying to figure out insurance. I was trying to figure out the medical system. Not that there were not people who knew it, but I did not know it, and I wanted to understand it because I was a major first response team for my child, right? I needed to know how things work. So I wanted to up my knowledge on different areas just to be a better mom. So I was okay. And also, I had the privilege that my husband was earning well. So I was not pressed for money in a way that I was desperate to get out and work. So I had that luxury. So I could take that break and, I let it go for a while. All this while, it wasn't that I had left the idea of going back to the workforce. It was just that in my head, yes, it's okay, let this take priority for now, but not let go of that thought process. And then I started applying for jobs as my kid turned 1 year old. Everything was healthy, things were getting back to normal. Okay, let's look. It wasn't easy. It was not at all easy. If you ask me how many jobs I've applied for, I cannot give you a count at that time or now. Since then, I've applied for so many, and I have applied for all sorts of jobs, which were, for me, banking is what I like to do. But I applied for banking, non-banking, any sector jobs, any entry level to mid-level, anywhere. It didn't matter. I applied it all, trying to see where, because at first, when you start applying for a job, you look for something that you would like to do. When you don't get response rate, then your consideration set keeps getting wider and wider, and mine got pretty wide a circle because forget getting rejection, I wasn't even getting a response. Um, and it was for a very long time. It was years and years that I was not getting any response. It was deflating, very deflating. There were times when I'm like, oh, am I not employable? Is my qualifications not good enough? Uh, is this gap that I took for my kid going to come back to bite me so much? It's like it's just a lot of thoughts which pass your brain and you're not able to process them and not get a good answer for them, of course. But if you know that's where you want to go, I think that's the only thing that keeps you kicking and moving forward. There is all sorts of advice which comes also, the unwanted or wanted doesn't matter. There's all sorts of advice that will come your way. It's okay, it will happen. Do this kind of course, it might work out. Invest in this area. This is really hot right now. All sorts of things happen. Or even to the extent that, it may not be such a good idea. You get into a higher tax bracket and actually you might lose more money than earn money if you get employed with your husband's income as well. So I'm like, oh, filter it all out. Let's filter it all out. But I did some, not to say I was completely off the market. I did some small engagements here and there in terms of working for a recruitment firm. I worked with Lumière for a bit on the side as well, but not a permanent role anywhere that I had, and that was still biting me. And all this wait time, then I expanded my family further, and I had twin boys after that. And um, as fate would have it, at that time, one of my boys was not as healthy when they were born. So it was not a choice, but I was not in a position to work. I couldn't work. There was a lot of medical stuff we had to deal with. We didn't know which side of the bridge we would come out at that time. So, to God's grace, I am in a better position. Everybody is healthy today. But that recovery cycle took a year and a half. So, fast forward, this has been a lot of years. It's been 6 years since I've really done a concrete job. And at that time, when all my three boys were now healthy, and they were fine, I was like, okay, it's time to pick this up full steam ahead. And again, I started that with a huge consideration setup. Like, a lot of companies, no matter what, Google them, find out what jobs are open, applied everywhere, went to job fairs. I was told at entry level positions, I was told that I am overqualified. At mid level positions, I was told, well, we're not sure about your background because all of my education and everything was from here, but I was applying for jobs in US. So there was that level of recognition which was not there for my qualifications as much as well. So it took a while, but in 2015, I finally broke the barrier and I landed this job, which I am with this bank. retirement now, and I've been with them since.
Wow,
Personal
that's
job
real.
at that time. So back in 2015, when this job offer came from WSFS Bank, it just coincidence. First, I wasn't getting anything, and then that time I got two offers. But the one I got from the other place, as much as that was actually very much close to where I was living, and that was tempting, but I had already said yes to this bank offer. And at that time, even my values, I guess, were like, no. They were the first ones who helped me break it. I said yes already. I'm not going to call them and say no, no matter what, how enticing this job is. I'm going to say no here because I said yes there. And I went ahead with that, and I don't have any regrets at all.
So much clarity, and again, that's Divya for you. She just holding on to her values, knowing that she said yes and that she had to go through with that, even though the other option that was tempting and close to home, you still went ahead with the first one. Tell us where you are at right now in your journey, Divya.
So I have been with this bank for maybe 9 years plus now, and I currently am the director of digital delivery there. I have moved up some ranks there. I have, something which again my parents were, as we were growing up, they ingrained in me was your work needs to talk for itself. You ever need to talk for your work, that's not that's it, you failed. So I'm like, okay. So that's been a guiding principle. As long as my work can speak for it, and I'm thankful that so far it has, and it has helped me move up the ladder. And I lead the digital delivery team there, so I'm guiding projects. I'm guiding the change management aspect of the project, the knowledge management as well, which is the training which comes with new tools getting implemented. I look at the benefit side of it, so the business case analysis as well comes into play. So a little bit of everything when we are implementing a new tool in a bank, all that comes into play. I think all those areas.
So really want to understand from you, Divya. I mean, your plate is full, your hands are full with three boys at home, and there is so much at work happening. So the classical question, really, how do you balance it all?
So I think I was sharing this with Deepa. I think we are, and I don't know if it's, I don't want to generalize, but I knowing women from India more than I know them from other countries, I'll just say that what I've seen here, we tend to hold ourselves to very high standards. And I think we somewhere have to stop doing that. It's okay for a ball to drop. It's okay that once in a while or whatever, not more, if more than once in a while is fine too. But if you fail, then you didn't make it to some place. So I do my best in all my roles. I do everywhere. Like if I have to make it for a soccer match and a baseball, and I am blessed in the sense that all my three boys don't want to pursue the same thing as well. So they all go in different directions, and they fill my plate even more than there is capacity for.
Yeah.
But it's another challenge, and we try our best. Some days my husband makes it somewhere, and we are the glorified Uber drivers right now, where we are doing pickups, drops. There is a whole mom Uber group also. Can you do this pickup today? Can I, whoever? And in my case, two parents, three kids. We are outnumbered at the onset, right? So, and with all three in different levels of interest, different areas of pursuit. We drop the ball sometimes. Sometimes don't make it.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, and this is some. If there's another twin mom out there listening, I have identical twins. I was the first in my family to have twins. So when that came about, also I think I got more sympathies than congratulations because nobody had even advice to give me. And I have made every mistake out there. I have like taken the wrong kid to the birthday party, send the wrong report, or whatever. Like just think of it, and I have done that. And my kids now, like now, there's no explanation. You can once you know them, you know they're very different, so it's no mixing them up. But back then, I was just struggling, and there's this whole concept about put twins in separate classes, their personalities will develop better, and that's true. I'm not saying it's not true, but as a parent, when you separate the twins, that's a lot more work. they're getting homeworks, they're getting teachers at different time, and I would get mixed up all the time. Which one did this come for now? And that's where I made all those kind of mistakes. So it's okay. All I'm saying is, to come back to your question, it's
Yeah.
okay. Um, it, I try to balance it all. Do I miss sometimes? Yes, I do. I absolutely do.
Mm.
And I will miss again in the future too. And that's okay. You do the best. Your heart is clear. It
Mm.
was not malicious intent, that you wanted to be there. You wanted to do the best you can. And there are days when, I'm at the baseball game and I'm sitting with my laptop still working because I have to fulfill my deliverable there, right?
Correct.
So I work from the game, or I will bring work somewhere else. So it's balancing. It's finding a room to work. It's getting that understanding, even with my work relation, right? As long as my deliverables are on time, whether I do them because I have to take a bit of a break during the day and then make sure I put in that time towards the end of the day to get it done, I'm getting my deliverable done. So you some days you'll give up your sleep, some days you might give up a kid event, some days you might have to negotiate an extended deliverable date at work. Some days you might have to do something else, and that's okay. It's not wrong. It's fine. Everybody does that, and you are you're doing the best you can to make it all work in that ecosystem that you have there. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I think couldn't have agreed with you more on this. I think it's just okay to drop that ball. And yeah, that's true. So also while you did this returning back to work, and of course you've been, you were motivated and you were pretty clear that, you wanted that little, your time where you are going to be able to, contribute in a way which is going to be satisfying, and which is going to give back to the career that you've invested in. So what or who were the key enablers or the drivers within your family? Of course you probably banked on somebody for support, and it is a daunting task to coming back, and 6 years, and you were also facing a little bit of challenges, and waiting for an okay from the other side. So during those challenging times, who was your key driver, kind of kept pushing that little uh, you know bar for you and said, yes, Divya, you should kind of keep at it, go on.
So it's not one. There are many, and you yourself also become a driver because
Yeah.
that's what you feel is what's fulfilling for you. So at the if you know it's not going to be fulfilling for you, then you're not even looking for outside drivers, right? The first drive has to come from inside. That's when you start looking for support. If you don't need
Yeah.
it, you're not going to need the support also. So it has to
Mm.
start at the core of you first. So I think my drive was there, and then of course your spouse plays an important role in it, because that that realization from the spouse also comes that, okay, she's going to step out, there are going to be days when I need to step in more or do something else more. And if the
Right.
spouse is not willing to do that, it does of course will create a challenge,
Mm.
right? So that
Mm.
spousal support is needed as well. You need to have those discussions, you need to make sure you understand. And again, you're not intentionally going to make trouble. It's just that some days dinner will be late, and that's okay. We understand. Or some days a bit, we'll order from outside, or you'll cook, or whatever be the case, right? So we do that. But I think it's multiple factors. It's what you want to do as your drive. Then you look for support from your spouse, of course, because it's going to change his life, and you want him to be prepared for it as well. It wouldn't be right just selfishly thinking about yourself as well. It takes your kids as well, right? Because you're now starting daycare for your kids. I mean, there's going to be
Right.
now they can't be at home, so they need to be outside. So how are you coaching them and making sure that they are ready for their daycare engagement? And daycare has its own level of bugs that come with it. So there's always somebody's falling sick, and then somebody has to run home and get them. So
Mm.
it changes your and your spouse's life quite a bit. So
Correct.
without that spousal support, then it doesn't happen. So that definitely was a very, very big driver and a big grounding factor for me. And then I think again it goes back to how you were brought up. So for me, I was always brought up, and my sister works. She's always been working parallel to her family as well. So it was when I look around me, I have interned here with Deepa. She's always been working, and I come back here. Like when I look at the women around me, there's so much inspiration. There was no looking back. I had to come back.
Beautiful. True.
I think Divya makes a very important point that the self is so important. And then, of course, all of the support you take from the ecosystem, the role models that you see around you, and the times. I also want Divya to tell us a little bit about the employer and the managers and the colleagues that you worked with. What, how attuned were they, and as a mother of three boys, was there some kind of a uh, some kind of a tacit understanding that you probably need some support from them, a little bit of flexibility? Did you talk about it? Did you seek out any support? Or
Yeah.
any stories you can share with us?
So one thing I will tell you, three as a number of kids is very common in US versus where two is in India.
Okay.
Okay, so that is for me. I was there and I'm like, three, that's a lot. And but three is such a common number there. So I'm one of the many who have three kids there. So I don't come with any special privileges in that sense. Okay, now that's the difference between the two countries, honestly. So
Yeah.
it's not them, it's not us, it's just how things are different. So for me, it was that first understanding. Okay, I'm one of many. I'm not different to have three fixed reports. It's very common
Mm.
here. And then I think I was lucky enough. My managers have been working moms, so it was never an issue. They totally understood it, you know, and I could have heart to heart conversation. And I, again, one of the reasons I've stuck with this for all this while is a very warm and welcoming culture. Um, I was probably one of the first few Indian background people to join them, but I have never felt out of place. They've always been curious and wanting to learn a little bit more. I started celebrating Diwali with them. Very recently, we celebrated Holi as well. So it's um, it's been a very welcoming culture. And again, some of it is perseverance, but some of it is, I have to say, luck that I had lovely people managers, who were working moms themselves. I didn't have to explain much. I could get tips, like, and they would coach me on where sometimes something for rent in the US. Because for me, I was still figuring it out, right? For me, it was all new. Oh, this guy wants to pursue this, but where do I go from here? How do I take it to the next level? What are the options available? And I would actually seek their advice and their guidance on non-work matters many times as well. Like, oh, my kid is looking to do that. I don't want to go. What do you recommend? So I think I would say that some of it is luck also that, I had that ecosystem even at work.
Yeah. So, and do you think organizations are gearing up or they're already ready, to have this entryway for women coming back to work? Do you think there is a pattern that, organizations have already created now to allow women to come back? Is there a
Um,
receptiveness?
I honestly cannot answer that in a way that I wouldn't be able to give a blanket answer to that.
Mm,
It's so different organization culture to culture. So
correct.
I can't even speak for it. Like, there might be industries out there which are not ready for this. That might be the virtue of the industry that they're not, and that could be
Mm,
because of the way the industry is, or it could be just because of the culture of that industry. I cannot say. So I personally don't feel there's a blanket answer out there. And I don't think it's also to do with the country to country culture. I think
right.
it's just pure company to company culture is how I look at it. Some companies are more open minded. It could be
Mm,
how it's structured or how they've internally had success and
mm,
they've seen it. So I think it just takes for that. That's why for a mom who's trying to get back into the workforce, that many chances, you got to keep applying. You got to find that right fit, which is why probably it took me also that long.
yeah.
I want to maybe just tweak the question a little bit to say, if we roll back to those 9.5 years when you actually cracked this interview, do you recall what is it that must have happened for them to discount those successes, that they didn't matter, that they gave you the opportunity? Did you have a chance to speak with the interviewing manager, or just, if you think in hindsight, what is it that was weighing in your favor as opposed to a detractor taking
Um,
away?
I'd love to go back and ask that question to them, but I'm going to guess at this. I think uh, I one the role that I was applying for was very similar to what I had done here in the bank at so it was very similar. So I was able to really understand what they were asking for in that job profile and articulate how I had implemented it in this prior experience. So I think that matched. I think it we had more than one conversation, and any of the questions, any of the I told them some of the innovations that we did for the approaches within quota during my stint there as well, and those also were something they were more curious about and seeing if that could be implemented within that bank as well. So I remember talking about those options. But I think it was I think we just connected, when we had that interview. We just connected. The profile made complete sense because it was so similar, and it was so similar to what I did previously. I could talk to it. I could. They clearly. It was more financial based that time. That was my first role, even in Kotak, and then first in this bank as well. I was more of a financial analyst, and they could see that I could speak to it, and they could see that yes, my background justified, or maybe I could talk to all the P&L activity. I could make sense of the numbers that were there as they were asking about questions. So it's not like I was not able to talk to it or not show that my knowledge was around those areas. So I think that must have given them comfort.
Yeah, so the role familiarity was
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Also, you were able to show them that there was some innovation that you had
yes,
been a part of,
yeah,
that also created
yes,
that curiosity.
yes.
And you had done all of your homework,
Right, right,
right? So
right,
the prepping was all there.
right.
And you went, a lot of times you said, and there was also the other interview that came. So was
Yes.
that again another bank?
That was not a bank, and that was still a financial role. But I think why I called it enticing was honestly just because it was very close to home. This was about an hour and a half drive from where I live, and given I had three little kids, that was a 10-minute drive. So that just was very enticing for me. The pay was not different. It was 1.5 hour one way versus 10 minutes one way. That's a huge difference for a mom of three young kids, and that's why that role became was why I labeled it enticing. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. So, also want to understand now that there are women watching, sitting on the fence, wondering whether to make that comeback on, or already on that journey to to return. So, what is that piece of advice that you?
One thing I would say is first start understanding yourself. What do you want to do? There is if somebody, when you're talking to yourself and what comes back is being a homemaker makes me happy and fills my bucket, you are not wrong. That's not wrong. It's okay. That's completely okay. That's a conversation in between you and your spouse that this is how I feel fulfilled and I'm here to support you. And that's how we will make this equation work. But that doesn't make me less of a woman or less of an achiever. So I think we have set very high standards again that a woman needs to do all roles and do it all, and that's when she's called accomplished. So I don't think that's true. If being a homemaker is what fills me, do that. If working keeps you better and makes to me like having a work life makes me a better mom and a better spouse and everything, then I should do that. So it's what comes back to you as your answer. Then you drive that further. Then persevere.
Right.
Don't give up because there is something out there. You just got to find it. And if it's not a full-time employment, go for volunteering. That's another area where you will find so much fulfillment. It's a beautiful time to spend. It's very fulfilling as as you engage with some of these organizations, and you find something meaningful to do there as well. And there's a lot of opportunity there. So I think you just have to find out first what you want, and then don't give up on that once you got your answer.
Sure. Absolutely.
Divya,
Yeah.
when you were coming back to work, was there like a time where you got formally trained, or did they uh, have some specific trainings for you, or were you directly on the job when you
It was
joined
on the job training.
this place?
Yeah. The role I had was the kind where it would be kind of on the job because I was learning as people were doing that work and then it was going to come into my bucket. So it was more on the job training. Much of it, yeah. But since then, my role has changed, and then I have done certification since that, and done other things. So since then, I have studied. Yes,
Lovely. Yeah, I think it was a very heartfelt conversation, Divya. So, I mean, thanks for sharing your journey and
likewise.
inspiring. I think so many women were already on the fence and wanting to do this return. So,
Pleasure.
thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for the opportunity.
And Divya has told us that we have to take responsibility for ourselves, starting with discovering where we stand, what is it that we truly want, and then when we are ready to take it, like there's no uh, tomorrow in terms of just the way you keep applying, in a sense, keeping aside, not letting the defeats seem like anything, not to personalize them so much that you feel uh, that we're not, just sort of be resilient, right? There's a
Yes.
huge need
Yes.
to keep doing that and to keep
Absolutely.
staying chin up. And
Yes.
we will have those times when we feel a little down and out. But how do we
Yeah.
go? Yeah.
If that's what you want to do and that's the role model you want to be for the next generation, then you have to keep at it and work
What a nice conversation we had.
Yeah.
Divya, thank you
Thank you.
so much for your time, and thank you, Pallavi,
Thank you.
for doing this with me.
Thank you.
Thanks all
Thanks,
for
Divya. Thanks, Divya.
watching.